what should I say, efficiency of the system, right? You want to get a lot of clunkiness out of the tax system. You want to be able to create simplicity. You know, you want to be able to have a system that's administered effectively, and obviously through my time as CFO and mayor until now, there's still issues of administration. We wanted a system that was fair, even though the district as a state has one of the most progressive tax systems of any state in the country by far. We still, if you're a mother making $50,000 a year, single mother making $50,000 a year, you're paying undue share of tax burden as compared to someone in the upper income. So how do we address fairness in that respect? And lastly, even though we are doing better, and even though I think we have created this forward momentum, and I think this is also an example of continuity of government, because you had me, you had Adrian, who was about change, and the mayor at his best is about change. I do believe this. This is continuity of government. We haven't had a long time in the district. Now you've had more or less continuity of government. This has been good, but I would say we're on an unstable equilibrium. I'd say that everything that's happened in the district in terms of forward momentum is we've just made up a huge amount of lost ground because we were essentially for 20, 25 years, 30 years out to lunch on this vicious cycle. Now we've made up for lost ground. Now it's kind of like Maryland, Virginia, and everybody else is in the stadium racing. We weren't even in the stadium. We weren't even awake. We were like drunk over somewhere in some hotel. Now at least we're in the stadium racing. Now we got to start competing. That's the way I think of the tax thing. So when everybody says, "Oh, we don't really need to think about competitiveness in the tax realm because we're doing well already," I said, "No, we're just making up lost ground." So give you some examples of what we tried to address without getting into a lot of details. One thing we tried to do is we tried to get a consensus on the tax commission from Mark Ein, investor, venture capitalist, to Ed Lazier and the Fiscal Policy Institute. So from the right to the left, get a consensus in support of everything we were trying to do. Get Ed on board with some of the business tax reductions, income tax reductions that he didn't really want to do, but did in the goal of having a consensus. Spent an enormous amount of time with the consul, getting the consul on board. And a lot of time with the mayor, not as fulfilling as I thought it would be, but a lot of time with the mayor as well. So what are some of the things we did? We looked at rates. I'm not getting into a lot of details, but we looked at rates. We looked at the provisions for lower income taxpayers to provide fairness there. We looked at business taxes and tried to reduce the business tax down to the level of Maryland. The mayor's left it up above that level, which I think is a mistake. Let's just go to Maryland's level and try to do that. Reduce or improve, however you look at it from my point of view and our point of view. I'll put it this way. Amend the estate tax so that we're at the federal level. Now, Maryland just did this. Again, we had to convince Ed to buy into this because his attitude was there's no real empirical evidence that people leave the district because of the estate tax. Just talk to an estate tax lawyer. They'll tell you people will get up and leave the district because of our provision for the estate tax. So we try to change that. We put in a safe harbor provision in our tax system along the lines of New York City. Albany won't allow New York City to tax income at its source, so their tax system is contorted in a way that ours is. Our tax system, if I'm got a 4-engine plane and you don't allow me to use 2 of my engines, I gotta kind of almost redline the other 2 engines because I can't use these 2. So we're gonna be, I use a lot of airplane analogies. We're gonna be a little distorted, right, because of the federal provision that we can tax income at its source. But allowing for that, New York City has provided a safe harbor for return on investment capital. So if I'm a fund and I'm charging you a fee to manage a fund, New York City can tax my income from those advisory fees. But what it doesn't tax is the return on investment. It doesn't tax that return on capital investment. And we think that's a big opportunity for the district because if you look with the exception of maybe Beijing, Frankfurt, right, and